Have you ever looked around and thought, is this really my life? Or just a version of it built for everyone else? That single question can shift your entire existence. Not with fireworks or some epic revelation, but with a quiet discomfort that refuses to leave. One morning you wake up, not in the physical sense, but somewhere deeper inside. Something opens. You sense it as an ache, a pause, a whisper beneath your routine. You realize you've been living as a reaction, not a decision. Everything you accepted, the roles, the smiles, the sacrifices, were shaped by external applause and internal silence. You performed gratitude when you felt emptiness, offered care while your own needs wilted, and blended so well into the mold others carved that you no longer noticed the sharp edges cutting into you. You did what was expected, not what was real. Over time, that ache becomes unbearable. It is no longer something you can suppress with distractions or label as a bad day. Something within you fractures, not violently, yet irreversibly. And from that crack, your true self starts to emerge. Carl Jung called this the journey of individuation, a path back to your essence away from illusion. However, unlike what some motivational cliches suggest, this journey isn't graceful, it's raw, and it often begins in chaos. You find yourself crumbling not from weakness, but from the weight of years spent pretending. You start saying no. You reclaim your time. You no longer offer explanations to make others comfortable. Initially, it feels like rebellion. Eventually, you recognize it as homecoming. People will react, some with confusion, others with judgment. They will claim you've changed. They may accuse you of arrogance or call you selfish or imply you've forgotten your place. They're not wrong, they're just responding to the disappearance of the version of you that catered to their convenience. And while that can sting, you also begin to sense a strange liberation. You don't feel lighter because life got easier, rather, because you finally stopped carrying everyone else's expectations on your back. This transformation isn't linear. Some days you'll feel powerful, other times hollow. You'll miss people who never really saw you. You'll revisit rooms where you once shrank yourself to fit, only to find you no longer belong there, and that's okay. These are the silent goodbyes that happen without closure. They leave space. That space, though uncomfortable, is sacred. It becomes the soil where your intuition begins to grow again. In that silence, you start to hear your voice, one that was always there, just buried beneath people-pleasing, perfectionism, and fear. Eventually, you notice something extraordinary. Life starts speaking back. Not loudly, rather, through soft signs. A conversation that aligns perfectly with your thoughts. A book that feels like it was written for your soul. A random event that feels purposeful. Jung called this synchronicity, when your inner world aligns so clearly with the outer that coincidence feels divine. It's not magic, it's resonance. And though this doesn't erase your doubts, it reminds you that you're walking the right path, even if it's unfamiliar. This journey changes how you show up. You stop curating yourself to be digestible. You speak with intention rather than approval. You create not for applause, but because you must. You begin to love without needing to be needed. You become deeply uninterested in admiration and more devoted to authenticity. People sense it. Some pull away. A few draw closer. The ones who remain, they meet you as you were. Over time, something deeper takes root. A kind of coherence. You stop living from contradiction, saying one thing, feeling another. You no longer move from obligation, rather from alignment. You measure your days not by productivity, rather by presence. That's not perfection. It's integrity. You realize that being whole isn't about being flawless, it's about being congruent. There's relief in that. There's peace. And yet, this isn't a destination. It's not a single, final decision. Choosing yourself is something you'll need to do again and again. On the days you forget, on the nights you collapse into old patterns, on the mornings you wake up feeling like a stranger to your own progress. The work isn't to be perfect, it's to return, to catch yourself, to pause, to forgive, to begin again. You'll find over time that this return gets easier. You'll recognize your own voice faster. You'll let go with less guilt. You'll create space before you compromise. And each time you choose yourself, the world shifts, maybe not visibly, but unmistakably. Not because the world has changed, because you see differently now. You're no longer asking for permission to exist. You're choosing to take up space simply because you're worthy. This act of choosing yourself is often misunderstood. It is labeled selfish. However, it is the opposite. It is a reclamation of your humanity. Because the person who loves themselves fully doesn't need others to suffer for their peace. They give generously because they're not depleted. They stand firm because they no longer live in fear of being unloved, but rather embracing their role as guides. And not everyone will follow that light. Some may reject it. Others might try to dim it. Let them. Your light is not meant to please, it's meant to illuminate. For you. For those finding their own path. For those who've been waiting for someone to show it's possible. So if anything stirred in you as you listened, an ache, a spark, a question, that's your signal. That's your invitation to pause, to reflect, to decide. Will you continue living someone else's story, or will you finally begin writing your own? If any part of this speaks to you, if it echoes something you felt but never had words for, know this. You're not alone. You never were. And you're always welcome at the G.I. Psychology channel, a space we've created for the quiet rebels, the tender-hearted, the ones learning to come home to themselves. Here, we don't chase perfection. We don't wear masks. We choose truth, healing, and honesty over and over again. Together, we explore what it really means to choose ourselves, not as a one-time declaration, but as a daily act of courage. So if you ever need a weekly reminder that choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival, it's sacred, and it's yours, you'll know where to find us. We'll be right here, holding space for your becoming. You've waited long enough. You've bent, paused, and put yourself second for too long. Now is the time. Choose you, fully, fiercely, without apology, again and again.